This video is going to demonstrate how to use the Euclidean Distance Spatial Analysis tool in ArcGIS Pro. Now, one might use this to calculate the Euclidean distance to a closest source, or as we're intending to use it, distance from the closest source. We're going to use this within Kings County, California, and what we're going to do is we're going to take basic electric transmission lines and we're going to turn this into a raster using the Euclidean Distance tool. This is going to help us then later input these data as a reclassified value or reclassified raster into a weighted overlay process. So here are our electric transmission lines, as we can see bolded here. I'm simply going to go to the geoprocessing tool. I'm going to look for the Euclidean Distance tool, and here we can see it's part of the Spatial Analyst tools. Now, one thing to note is you'll see that this is a depreciated tool. So in the future update, this is going to be going away, but there are other tools available that are replacing it. So if you're interested, go ahead and start with that. Now we're going to come over here, we're going to insert our electric lines into the input area. You'll notice there's the output distance raster. Input raster or feature barrier data can also be used. Now, I've used this as Kings County's boundary, but the problem I have found is that when you're dealing with polylines, this does not work as well. One other thing to note is that my environment is already set, so any outputs that I get, whether I'm running this planar distance method or even generating output cell size, is going to be very contingent on the output and on the environment which I have set at this time. What I've gone and done is I've ran the Euclidean Distance tool, and we can see that this was again done off my transmission lines. And so it's generated a distance from 0 to, well, whatever value this happens to be. It could be feet, it could be meters, it could be kitty cats, but we can see that it's well above 118,000 of whatever this unit is. Now we're going to fix that. We're going to reclassify it just like we've specified and looked at in the past. So let's look for the reclassification tool. We're looking for reclassify, spatial analyst tools, and now what we're going to do is we're going to plug that in, having our distance bands that have been generated. You'll note that I can now manually input values and new values. I'm simply going to go over here and hit classify. Doing so is going to give me a pop-up window. It's also going to generate an automatic classification. I'm going to use natural breaks, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to set that to 3, just because my weighted overlay process and reclassification is a ranking of 1, 2, or 3. So it automatically sets up those breaks. Here now I have my start and my distance end point, and so with that start and end, I can also come in here, but you'll note it's 1, 2, and 3, keeping in mind that I want my 3 to be higher ranking, of a higher value. At least that's how I've been running my weighted overlay process. So what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to come in here and look at my 0 to its end point, and I basically need to say, hey, this is closer to my transmission lines based on the Euclidean distance that was generated. Therefore, I am going to convert that over to a value of 3. And so I need to reverse this order. So this becomes 3, that will remain 2, of course, and this will become 1. Now, my reclassification is reset. I'm going to hit run after I name my output raster. And I'm simply just going to go ahead and get that reclassified raster that is based on my Euclidean distance from my transmission lines. Takes a minute to read and output, as we've demonstrated before. Now, keeping in mind this is clipped to my boundary because of the environments that I have set, but now I have a raster that is reclassified based on distances from my transmission lines, simply ranked 1, 2, or 3, and that gives me exactly what I need to plug and play in the weighted overlay tool here in ArcGIS Pro. Plain and simple, we've looked at the Euclidean Distance tool and how to reclassify the output from a Euclidean distance.